But I'd like to start with you indulging me, and let's all just take a really deep breath together. Let's just try to turn down that inner chatter that is going on. We all have it, right? Are there any cookies at the break? They're gonna be good? Did she text me back yet? Who is this crazy person from California they brought out? I mean, we all have it all the time. And I think one of the most important parts about living and leading a life of innovation is to make a commitment to ourselves to be as fully and as deeply present as we possibly can, as often as we possibly can. Because I think it's only when we slow down that our souls can catch up, and that we can really be open to ideas and inspirations and opportunities that are all around us. So today I'm going to share with you a little bit about my work, but I'm going to start by just telling you about my journey. And I'm very mindful that we often teach what we most need to learn. I grew up in a very good Catholic family with a history of military tradition. Both of my grandfathers were World War II vets, and my father, in fact, was a Vietnam vet, Persian Gulf vet. So my home was one full of law and justice and fairness and hard work and responsibility and accountability. I walked the straight and narrow path. I did not deviate. And I didn't have much compassion for those who did, if I'm honest. And then I was 16, and my best friend shared with me that she had been raped. And I decided in that moment I was going to go to law school and be a prosecuting attorney, and I was going to help put people in jail to make the world a safer place. So off to Northwestern Law School I went. And on my first day, I was just walking across the quad, not really paying attention, when all of a sudden I saw a little sign that said, "Come teach kids about the law in juvenile hall." And I thought, well, that sounds kind of interesting, I'll go. I went for very selfish reasons. I just wanted to see what the inside of a juvenile hall looked like. And so when I showed up to meet my volunteer manager, she told me, "Okay, Christa, here's the deal. You're going to be working in the maximum security unit. Most of the young people there have been there for very, very serious crimes. Some are even looking at life in prison. And here's a little strip of paper. Has a Fourth Amendment on it. Just go teach them that for an hour and a half." And I looked at her and I said, "Yeah, so you realize I haven't been to a law school class yet? And I don't even know my locker combination, let alone the Fourth Amendment? Don't worry about it, you'll be fine." So in I went. And I can remember like it was yesterday, sitting in that room, the smell of the disinfectant, the shiny linoleum floors, the pit in my stomach, my sweaty palms, waiting for this gigantic door to open. And what it did, these young men came in and they looked tough and scary, and my inner chatter went off. And it was saying things like, "Are you crazy? What is a nice white girl from the suburbs doing here? You have nothing to offer these young men. What were you thinking?" And I think just out of desperation or fear, I pretty much told them that when they sat down. And then it ended with something like, "Well, maybe we can learn together, and I played college basketball." And 10 weeks later, that volunteer experience changed my life. It changed all of my perceptions, my thoughts, my beliefs, my core assumptions, because I realized underneath these hardened shells are kids like this, beautiful kids. Kids who had grown up in homes and communities where they honestly believed by the time they were 18 or 21, they would be dead or in prison, because that's all life had to offer them. Kids whose statements to me would constantly start with, if only someone had cared about me. If only I had known how much trouble I could get into. If only I had been given a chance to do something, I wouldn't be here. Their faces and their voices, I couldn't get them out of my head, and I didn't expect to care about these kids. So I went to the volunteer coordinator and I said, "Look, I feel like I know too much now to stand by and do nothing, but I don't know what to do." She said, "Well, think about it. The answers will come." So I transferred to Stanford Law School. Maybe the answers are out west. They didn't have a program to go work with incarcerated kids, so I started one, and I loved it. And suddenly, 2 years later, I look up and I'm about to be a law school graduate. I'd been really successful in school, I had great job offers, but honestly, I was a mess. I had worked at different law firms and it just didn't feel right for me. I had worked at the public defender's office and found I didn't have as much compassion for adult criminals. And I had worked at the district attorney's office and just didn't want to put kids in jail as part of my job. I didn't know where I belonged. Nobody told me that coming out of college or graduate school that it could be this hard. So out of desperation or just trying to find answers anywhere, I went to a women's law conference. My poor soon-to-be husband, I dragged him along with me for moral support. And as I sat there listening to speaker after speaker talk about what they were doing, I became more and more stressed out. I mean, they had it all figured out. As a little aside, none of us ever have it all figured out. And then this civil rights attorney got up and she said, look, here's the deal. Each of you need to do something that brings justice to this world. And I'm carrying a torch of justice, and I've been carrying it for lap after lap after lap, and I'm tired. Who will take my torch? And I grabbed my husband's leg and I said out loud, I want the torch! I want the torch! And I was in that moment, I realized that I just needed to do something. I just needed to go for it. I didn't know how exactly, but I knew I had to at least try. So I went back to the young men incarcerated and I said, what can I do to help? And they said, look, here's the deal, Christa. You go out there. You teach kids about the law so they know how serious the consequences are. And then give them somebody positive. You know what they call those people? Mentors. Yeah, give them mentors. And then give them a chance to be leaders in the community so people see that we're not just a delinquent. So that's what I did. Their ideas are the core of what we do at FLY. They helped write my letters of recommendation to the Soros Foundation, and we got our funding, $32,500 a year. That was 10 years ago. And now we're working with about 1,000 probation youth, 2,000 middle school youth a year in California, with about 26 staff and 90 volunteers. And we're doing it at less than 1/10 the cost of incarceration, with programs that are really effective. And so, and we never forget, though, behind the award and the acknowledgement, and thank you, I really appreciate that deeply, that these are stories of kids transforming their lives. And I never forget, it all started with me transforming mine. So some of the lessons along the way that I've learned, and I'll just share a couple of quick examples quickly, I think kind of go with the word lead. We're going to just do the lead part today, the Number one, listen to your inner voices. If I hadn't listened to that voice that was talking to me, there would be no FLY. I wouldn't be here. And I thought that voice was crazy, and I kept dismissing it. But our inner voices, our inner wisdom, have a lot to teach us. Whatever you want to call it, intuition, gut instincts, divine guidance, that voice is a voice we must listen to, the whispering of our souls. It will take you in the direction you need to be in, and I believe the universe will then conspire in your favor. Eager. We've got to be eager and willing to learn and grow. And the first people we need to learn and grow from are those we seek to serve. We need to see them not as people with weaknesses or things we need to fix, but as people or situations with strengths that need to be unleashed. Those boys in juvenile hall had it right, and my clients continue to have it right as we grow and evolve. And what's important is you have to, along the way, be willing to also learn from your mistakes. And those opportunities, my friends, often come in the form of pop quizzes. I had a pretty memorable one in the early days of FLY. My mentee and I, Robert, were driving in my little beat-up Toyota, 100,000 miles on it, bumping down the road to San Jose State to recruit mentors for our program. And Robert's talking to me about how he's not really doing his homework and he hasn't been going to school, and I kind of lost my motivation, Christa, so I'm giving him this pep talk, like, man, you gotta get your act together. Look at all this potential you're wasting. And I run a stop sign. And so I say, I'll stop twice next time. Now, Robert, come on, let's really focus on this tutoring. What are we gonna do about it? So we get to San Jose State. We give a presentation to 100 students. I go first. I think I did a great job. I look professional, competent, pulled it off. Robert gets up. He gives great speeches, I know. This one, though, was a little different. What Robert said was, hey, look, here's what you need to know about mentoring. Man, you do not have to be perfect. This one over here, my mentor, On the way here, yeah, she ran at the stop sign. Right? So we have to be eager and willing to learn and grow and recognize that we get so many teachers along the way. And we've got to put down our phones and engage the person right across from us because they have something to teach us. We've got to attack and adapt, right? We have to work hard as innovators. We have to try our best, focus. I spent 6 months traveling the country studying what works in crime prevention and putting together this curriculum that I thought was perfect. But Zach wasn't having any of it in class. We were having a rough go, and I finally thought, man, how am I going to get through to this kid? It's just not working. He shows up halfway through class with this grin on his face. I mean, ear to ear, he was so excited. And I thought, finally, I've had a breakthrough. And he says to me, Christa, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe what happened. So I'm walking at school, and this kid comes up to me, and he calls me fill in a racial slur. And I remember what you taught me. I took a deep breath. I even walked away, and I went into class, and I thought about it. And I made my list of pros and cons, and I thought about the consequences. And then after class, then I hit him. I realized I needed to adapt. Things weren't going to exactly go on my timeline and my time frame. And detours. Detours are part of our journey. My dream was to go to Stanford Law School. I didn't get in. I was devastated. I had worked so hard, but I just could not master that LSAT test. I just couldn't. If I had gone into Stanford, though, there would be no fly. Because Stanford didn't have any program to expose me to kids in the juvenile justice system, and Northwestern did. So at the time, some of our biggest losses and our greatest devastations can be some of the most important detours of our journey. So, 2 other things I want to keep in mind, because I think when we're working to lead innovative lives, there's a couple of pitfalls. Number 1, we forget to stop and cherish our accomplishments along the way. We're so focused, we're so goal-oriented, we see so many problems that we're hiking mountain after mountain after mountain, and we forget to stop and turn around and take a look at the view. We forget to acknowledge the amazing staff, volunteers, family members, clients, who have been just as an important part of this journey as we are. Take a moment to celebrate those accomplishments. They propel you to the next level. The second danger I've seen for myself is we become very inward focused on our own form of innovation, and we don't take the time or make the time to celebrate the accomplishments of others around us. Personally, I get caught up in that, in the comparison game, the competitive game, the jealousy game. But what I hope we realize is that the world needs social innovation after social innovation after social innovation, and all of us, we are all on the same team. I get a great reminder of this every Saturday. My husband and I coach my 7-year-old daughter's basketball team. And if you're at one of our games and you happen to miss who makes the basket, forget about it. You're never going to know. Because when they turn around and run back on defense, they are all smiling ear to ear. They are all so excited because they scored. I want to be more like that. I want to really cherish and revel in the accomplishments of those around us. I think each of us are called to live our own lives of innovation, and whether that's as a full-time job, a part-time job, pro bono, with philanthropy, with supporting someone who's following a passion. And personally, I don't believe any one way is more important or better than the rest. I think each one of us is called to do our own part. And I hope that this opportunity today, we each can take a moment and really think about and recommit ourselves to taking a step closer to leading and living an innovation life that we want to. Because the world needs us, and we have much to offer. Thank you.